What's good with y'all?
And maybe a few ain'ts. Ah, you.
What is this? Oh, Negro spiritual vibe.
It's Black History Month. Black History Year. That's what that was. Oh my goodness.
I'm gonna let the Saints know already. I'm so tired.
And I'm eating a turkey leg.
She eating the whole turkey leg over here looking like Bam Bam from Flintstones.
Because I'm hungry. So it is what it is.
Why you got a whole thigh on your plate? I never seen nothing like it. How y'all doing?
Turkeys have really big are these quads? Like,
Babe,
what is this?
I don't know.
Is that a quad?
I don't know. I just know it's really big. You haven't said the people's name yet. That's
okay. Let's do it. Okay. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, Elaine. Hey, Nancy. Hey, Carabo. Hey, Kelsey. Hey, the Jazz Account. Hey, Bree. Hey, Brianna. Hey, Melissa. Hey, Jennifer. Hey, with the Perrys. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Kimberly. Hey, Solandi. Hey, Kelsey. Hey, Latoya. Hey, Lynn. Hey, Dubia. Hey, Jesus and random things. Hey, Dami Lola. Hey, Monica. Hey, Salasi. Like Holly Selassie. Hi, Jennifer. Hey, it's Seth. Hey, Charlene. Hey, Sierra. Hey, Passion 8 for God. Priscilla. Hey, Alexis. Hey, Ashley Johnson. Hey, Nah. Hey,
it's always funny.
Everybody.
It's always funny when you say people's hashtags that's like really, really long. And like
it doesn't feel like a name.
Yeah.
It feels like a title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jackie won't share food.
Why do you keep doing that? That's actually that's a really good like visual metaphor for marriage.
It is, because
you think everything I have belongs to you because we've been.
But you actually eat my food more than I eat your food.
Yes.
Okay then. Okay, so today, what are you doing? So
I bit Gristle. That was nasty.
Okay, so today we're going to talk to. Well, let me just tell you guys what we've been covering. So this month we've been covering relationships. So for those who don't remember, the first week we covered the theology of relationships. So we just talked about how because God is a relational God, and when He created us in His image, He also created us to be relational people.
Glory.
And how when sin came into the world and disrupted that, it had not only just disconnected us from God in a sense, but it also disconnected us from each other. Like
Amen.
We begin to have friction in our relationships. And so one of the things that Jesus did when He came back is to restore us back to the Father, but also to restore us back to
reconciliation.
My reconciliation. God. And so that's what we covered the first week. The second week we covered the gift of singleness, and we had our beautiful friend Santoria on, and she talked about how she's just really old and haven't been.
She's not that old.
I'm just playing. She's my friend, but she's
45
and single, and so and so this week I'm so excited because we have two of my favorite people, and I don't just say that, and y'all know I don't be saying stuff when I don't mean it. These are two of my favorite people in the whole world. They're a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful couple. I had the honor of getting to know them. Me and my wife, we had the honor of going in their home and sleeping in their guest room, and they just treated us with so much love since the first day we met them. So without further ado, give it up for
what?
Pastor Ray.
Okay.
And Jani Ortlund.
You forgot his
name. I was going to say the Ortlands first, and then I was like, let me say their whole name.
Hey, y'all.
Hey, y'all.
We love y'all.
How you doing?
Well, we're old and we're boring.
Okay.
You're not boring. So for those who don't know, you might, some of you guys may remember when I killed my first deer. Now, some of you vegan Christians, y'all was mad. It was like a whole handful of y'all, but for the rest of the people, y'all was happy for me. This is the man who introduced me to deer hunting. I also, last time I came to their house, I ate elk for the first time.
Wow.
Elk. I think, was it elk stew?
Yeah.
Elk stew. It was actually really good, really tasty. You know, in the hood, we don't eat elk. We eat chicken, beef. That's it.
And bacon.
Yeah. And so, thank you guys for just introducing me to so many new experiences. That's what happens when you get a white friend from Nashville.
That's right. It's all my fault. Yeah.
If y'all don't mind, would you just tell us a little about yourselves, whether that's, who you are, your family, your church situation, just so that people can, have some context for Ortlands.
This lady is an historically epic wife.
My God.
Oh, and yeah, that is no exaggeration. I believe God gave me, with my wife, the best of her whole generation. I feel so privileged to be her husband. I'm just trying not to let her down. So this December, we will be married 50 years.
Wow.
Yeah, and she still likes me.
I don't know why I like her. Talks about me that way, but they want to know not how much you love me necessarily, but about us. Like we've been married almost 50 years.
Yeah, we got 4 kids.
4 kids, all married.
How many grandchildren?
15 grandchildren.
Man,
Wow.
We've been in ministry most of our life together.
Yeah, it's like we realize, we're playing the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
We want to make it to the end.
Yeah. We want to keep going with integrity all the way, and then drop dead and go to heaven. We're fine with that.
Did I tell you I asked Pastor on Twitter? I said, "Can you write a book about death? Because you talk about death a lot, and so you're like,
and I don't like it.
You're a living Ecclesiastes, and so I felt like, man, like this would be really helpful if we could have a resource about like aging well and going into eternity with joy. I really think that would be
I like that, Zachy. He'd be good.
I think you got the idea on it.
Yeah, but you talk about death a lot. You talk about going to heaven a lot, and I don't like it because I love you, and I'm like, man, it would suck without you here. But I'm being selfish because you with Jesus. But like, yeah, I think a book like that will be great.
I would love it. I look forward to that.
I just want to echo. I want to echo what you said about your beautiful wife, because and also you, both of you guys, because I've had the opportunity to be around married couples for the last 8 years by the grace of God, but I haven't been around a married couple who has been married as long as you guys have been. And so, spending the night at your house, waking up, eating breakfast, seeing how you love your wife, seeing how you serve your husband, like it has blessed me tremendously. I remember the first time me and Jackie spent the night over there. She just talked about how like the hospitality convicted us. Yeah. Like we was like we don't go out our way to make people feel hospitable.
And let me explain. So we were moving from Chicago to Atlanta, and so a middle point between that was Nashville. And so we asked the Ortlands, "Hey, can we stay at your house? So we don't got to get a hotel room." So we show up. It's me, Preston, Eden. I was pregnant with Autumn. My friend Dana, his friend Chucky. That's a whole lot of people. It's a whole, bandwagon of folk. And they had not only like a whole 30 meal set out for us, but like they had baskets for everybody, including Eden. Eden had like little snacks and little like crayons.
And when people come over our house, we throw them a pillow.
They get a bottle of water.
Take a nap.
You need anything. That's it. I said I got to do better.
Yeah, so we got to step our game up. So like we left feeling convicted, and so every time I leave, you, Ray, I feel challenged to love my wife more. I feel challenged to serve my wife better. Jani, like the way you love Ray is just honorable, and it's just really great to look at. And you guys are a great model. And so we couldn't think about not a better couple we can have for this other than you guys. We was like, man, you guys are it. So
here's the truth of it. You're very kind, but we love you guys. We respect you. We learn from you. You matter, and you matter to us.
Yeah.
Whenever you're driving through town, you come stay with us. We'll just have fun.
Yeah, man. Will. I don't want no else
though. When your kids are grown and gone.
Yeah, I mean it's easy now. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I have the first. Can I ask the first question?
You can ask the first question.
How did y'all meet? I think everybody wants to know that.
Okay. All right. Here's how it happened. I was walking. It was September 12th, 1968.
About
whoa.
5
p.m.
You are old.
This isn't funny anymore, I was walking from my dorm to the dining hall at Wheaton College, and about halfway there, I saw a guy I'd met a few days before. He was a freshman. I was a sophomore. He was on the football team. I just wanted to go say hi on my way to dinner. So I went over to say hi to him, and there was a girl standing there talking to him.
Me.
And I thought, wow, This woman is amazing. And this, my friend did me the kindness of introducing me to her, Jan Giles from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And so I got right to the point. I said, "Are you guys dating?"
And I said, "Oh, no, we're not dating."
And then a few weeks later, I don't know how it happened, but I was in a conversation with a guy in her class, and somehow we were talking about her, and he told me he had some intel on Jani, that she had convictions, she had standards, she had integrity. And
that was your go ahead.
uh-oh. Oh, there we go. And as soon as I heard that, I said, I'm asking this girl out. So here's a beautiful woman who is putting Christ first in her life. Yeah.
Yeah.
Since I met him on that September 12th, I've been asking the Lord, please have Buddy Ortlund call me and ask me out for a date. It took him.
Wait, so you're saying when he introduced himself to you that day, was it before then that you want him to contact you, or after you guys met?
Well, my roommate knew him, and he was kind of a big man on campus, and so
Really?
he was so handsome.
Yeah,
So
with the emphasis on was.
You're still handsome, brother.
hoping that Bud Ortlund would call her for a date. So
Now the truth of it is, we really did have fun falling in love, and you know, I think that's important because you know I didn't get married so that I could live with a critic. I got married because I wanted to live with a lover.
Oh wow.
Yeah. She gets that, and she didn't marry me because she needed somebody to make her straighten up.
Wow, that's good.
I wanted to show the Saints a picture of y'all that I think
it's so adorable.
People will like. Hold on 1 second. Application window, Chrome tab. I know I'm saying the most. Did the Saints see it?
oh,
Look at y'all.
You guys look very regal in this picture.
Y'all look like models.
And yeah, you guys look like models. Seriously.
We're just a couple of knuckleheads, and we felt like God's been so good. You know.
So how long did y'all date before you proposed?
Good question.
Before you proposed, 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
We had another several months before we married, but we were in college. He wouldn't marry me till I graduated, so I started taking summer school classes to graduate early because I wanted to man.
You know, it's important to say, and Jani would agree, it wasn't some sort of fairy tale experience. And I look back on those years, and there's a lot that embarrasses me. I have a lot of regrets because we did enjoy each other. We did have a lot of fun together. But, you know, I never, you know, like it's not as though when I was in 9th grade, I decided I was going to be selfish. I just didn't know how not to be.
Yeah.
How I navigated reality with myself at the center, and I didn't even know it.
Wow.
And Jani has absorbed a lot. She has put up with a lot. She's been patient.
As has he. I mean, I didn't determine that I was going to be a control freak. I just was. And
so
I love to
these are all good things that we want to talk about. If you guys don't see us looking at you, we actually looking at your image, but our camera is up here, and so it looks weird. But I want to just talk about that, and I want to get down to I guess some real issues in marriage, because we're going to be married 7 years.
7 years on Monday.
Fantastic.
And so and so when I think about it feels like I've been married to her for 18 years, 20 years, because we've been through so much in this last 7 years. But when I hear someone say they've been married for 50 years, for me, it's almost kind of like not real. Like, it's like, how is somebody married for 50 years? I'm not even nowhere near 50 years old. And so for you guys to be married so long, you guys, I'm pretty sure you experienced it all. And so I remember one time we was talking, Pastor Ray, and you were talking about how throughout as years went on, you had to like learn and relearn your wife, and you guys change in seasons. So I guess my question is, people change, and I guess with all of this time, how do you guys adjust to the change? How do you guys when Jani is changing, or when Ray is changing, how do you guys adjust to that change and still love one another through those changes?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Totally.
Yeah. You speak into that, Ray.
Well, when we got married on December 18th, 1971, we took vows. Now, what's the point of a vow? A vow is like a super promise.
Mm-hmm.
We take a vow because we just know in advance there are going to be times when we don't like each other. There are going to be times when our love is not on fire. There are going to be times when we're tempted. So we're saying by a vow, we're saying in advance, we're pre-committing to the future. We're saying, I'm going to be there for you. I can't foresee the future, but whatever happens, I am so all in that when you change and I change, we're just going to figure it out. That's all.
Wow.
Because that's what marriage is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thought, just and of course at the time I didn't realize.
Yeah.
I didn't realize what I was saying, but
yeah.
I did know it was meant to stick. And
so what you're basically saying is that because of this covenant that you guys promised to keep, the hard times didn't make you want to quit. The hard times made you say, okay, let's figure it out. Because I think some people can look at you guys now, can look at pictures like they just saw and see this beautiful love story, this 50-year love story. And they can think that, man, these people have been in love for all of these years, not really realizing that you guys had some very hard times and some rocky moments. And so like you guys are saying like you're staying committed to this process even when it's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Honey, what's been a hard time for you? How have I made it hard for you along the way?
How long is this?
You got time, Jani.
No, I'm cheesing. I think one of the ways you've made it hard is that you're an adventurer, and I'm a more, I would say maybe boring, but Ray wouldn't like that word. I just like things the same.
Yeah.
I don't like to move. I don't like to have a man come and tell me, boy, do I have a great idea. Why don't we do this? And we'll move to Germany and I can get my doctorate there. And, oh, you can be with these 4 kids under the age of 6, and learn German on your own. And those kind of things freak me out.
Clueless. I'm clueless.
And what I didn't know at the beginning was the worst response was for me to withdraw and get angry. How could he even think that, rather than take a deep breath and say, well, that doesn't hit me quite right, but let's talk. Tell me more. And then I can take it to the Lord and say, Lord, is he crazy, or is this one of the times when I say, okay, for better or for worse? It might look worse for me, but it ultimately will be better for us.
And a good marriage is just 2 crazy people who keep figuring out how to be crazy together.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, because what you said something that resonated. Like when you said at times we don't like each other, and I remember the first year me and Jackie were married, we just kept bumping heads. And you talk about not liking each other. We did not like each other. We did not like coming home. And we had to figure it out. And we often talked about like one time, when our cable was off and we couldn't pay our cable bill, we was forced to talk and we was forced to like work through things. And so, yeah, I know you learn, but I was just curious to know, like, as years and like, is it just something that you just almost like muscle memory? If she, because I often think about if Jackie starts to change like at 40 and she becomes like a whole nother person that I did not know in our 20s. Would it freak me out? You know, I often think about that.
Well, you met me when I was fresh over 19. Now I'm 31.
Yeah.
Do you think I've changed?
Yeah, you have changed, but I be hearing about some people having like midlife crisis and like just becoming like totally different people. And so I don't know, maybe I'm overthinking it because it's, you know, it's so long. And so, but yeah.
I think it's a profound question. It's a realistic issue that you're raising, and we're all married people experience it. You know, something else that's so practical that helps me on a kind of a moment by moment basis is just to turn to the Lord and say, whatever I'm feeling, whatever I'm facing, when I feel inadequate. See, when I feel inadequate, what I do sometimes is I project that onto Jani as some failing in her.
Mm-hmm.
But what's really happened is I feel so small, and I'm being stretched out of my smallness, and it hurts. And it's scary. So the prayer that helps me right now at that moment, that kind of moment, is just, Lord, please fill me with your Spirit, like right now. I need the filling of the Holy Spirit right now. Thank you.
Yeah, that's good.
Work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How important is Ephesians 5. It says this mystery is profound. I'm saying that it refers to Christ and the church. Husbands, love your wives like Christ loves the church and gave himself up for her. Wives, submit to your husband.
You better know scripture.
I'm paraphrasing.
From memory.
How important is that verse? Like, how important is it to practically live that out in a marriage?
I think it's very important. It really helps me, because if I know that this is how God said, this is how it works, Jan. This is how you will make it to 50 years and beyond. This is my good plan. Then rather than bucking against Ray, if I'm bucking against that plan, I'm really bucking against God.
My God.
Woo. That's good.
What I want to do, Ray's prayer is fill me with your Spirit. My prayer has been more, increase my love for this man. Because sometimes he just, I just don't love him like I want to. Or
that's life.
Yeah.
And the Lord always answers.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah, what kind of touches my heart about Ephesians 5 is that Paul wrote that to first generation Christians. They were coming out of Judaism and they were coming out of paganism. They didn't have Christian parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles, and they didn't have this heritage. This first generation Christianity, they've never seen it before. They are pioneers. They're generation one of a whole length of Christian families coming from them. And so it's got to be possible, right? Yeah. He's not setting them up for defeat. He's setting them up for success and glory and happiness and power. So this passage is incredibly brilliant and insightful. And what we find here is that people who've never seen a Christian marriage and now find themselves in one, they're generation one pioneers of a whole new family tradition. They go to the gospel and stare at the gospel for a while, and they say, okay, well, we could try this, we could try that, and talk about it together. Does this work for you? Does this work for me? The gospel, and it's us, and let's go follow that path right there. Our dad and mom didn't understand it, and we wish they did, but they just didn't understand. We don't have any aunts and uncles. We got the gospel here. Let's talk about an adventure. Let's go somewhere with this. Yeah. Let's create something new.
That's really good.
That we would love.
I think what's deep, and I think you said this to us, is like both me and Preston talk about how we weren't raised around marriages at all, really. The only marriage I saw up close that I thought was honorable was Bill Cosby. That's really all I had. And I think we also weren't raised in Christian homes. And so much of what we do as parents and as a couple, we feel like we're figuring it out. So
Yeah.
obviously we have community, which helps, but there's still a level of ignorance that we both kind of have just because we feel like we're the first in our families to do what we're doing.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so good, you know, because what you said, I never thought about that perspective, and I would think it's the same for me than it was to, you know, for the Christians back then. They had to look to Jesus, to be the prototype, because for somebody like me who didn't grow up with a father, who didn't grow up seeing a man actively loving his wife, I had to look to Jesus to be the standard of like, God, you have to help me. And so I read that scripture, Ephesians 5, so much, but it's like now it's like when he talks about how Christ loves the church, it's like, man, like he looked at Christ's relationship with his father and with his church. And he had a prototype, you know, in the same way, you know, and so that was just beautiful. I never thought about that.
When you were newly married, what was the worst advice somebody gave y'all?
Oh,
You know, we have premarital counseling, and it was just totally inadequate.
Really? In what way?
Oh, we didn't even talk about sex.
Oh.
Man, I thought I would be amazing.
Okay.
And you know, I wasn't.
well, that's because you didn't have that's okay.
I mean, I had no idea what I was doing. But we learned together, you know what I mean? And so it was, that was bad advice because it was no advice.
Yeah.
That's wise.
So you're saying basically people not equipping you properly.
We went in totally unprepared.
Yeah.
So when we work with couples now, you know, we just make sure that we have some conversations.
So you open that can of worms. I'll go back.
Here now.
I'll go back to. I'll go back to the question that I had before. Please remind me, babe. Because with sex, how, like, I guess what question do I want to ask first?
I don't know.
How important is a healthy sex marriage?
Sex life.
I'm sorry, in marriage. How important is it?
Absolutely the most important thing.
Over communication and date nights.
They've been married 50 years, man. Let them talk.
This is how men communicate, Jackie. This is their form of communication. And, you know, I mean, I can talk all I want.
We're listening, Jani.
We want you to. I need some.
Your floor is yours.
Some exposition.
Listen, go ahead, baby.
You go ahead.
It's so sweet.
A vigorous team win sexuality in a Christ-honoring marriage. It seals the marriage. It symbolizes the marriage.
It refreshes it.
And it refreshes the marriage. It's like the next morning we feel great. And okay, we're married. We're really married. This is, you know, we're all in. We're happy to be all in. And here's something I didn't understand for so many years. This is embarrassing. Again, this is my oblivious selfishness. It never occurred to me for years to ask the question, why did God even make me like this? Why did God wire this into me? I mean, it wasn't the devil's idea.
But to be a sexual being, is that what you mean?
Yes, with these feelings and so forth. So it's got to be when God made Preston as sexualized men, that God had a good day when he did that. And he's not sorry. He's not having second thoughts.
Yeah.
What is the point? Because it's kind of crazy. You know, the Song of Solomon says, "Be drunk with love."
Mm-hmm.
And when we're sort of swept away into this sexual passion, it's a sort of a
Intoxication.
yeah, it's a kind of wonderful insanity, and we're just caught up in it, and I finally realized, oh, I'm made this way with this capacity and this intensity, not for myself.
That's big.
It's for her.
Wow.
Say it again, Ray.
And I had to learn how to receive that. I was very naive about my own sexuality. I had to learn how to help Ray please me. And it took us a long time, but eventually, I mean, it's sure fun learning.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's really helpful to say, because I've talked to people who that it's a worldly mindset, but the mindset is, man, if I don't have sex before marriage, then how do I know how they're like in bed? And it's just like, well, that's a part of marriage, is the learning part.
Yeah.
Getting to learn each other. And so I think it's important that you said that.
So yeah, I want to. You guys said so much good stuff just now, because I've often asked the Lord that about myself, like, Lord, like, my wife doesn't want to be intimate right now. Like, why did you create me with this passion for my wife? And so that's such an interesting perspective. So I guess like why do you think that was God's intention? Because I'm still trying. I know you said it's for your wife, but why does it seem as if a lot of the times wives are not as passionate about sexual intimacy like the husband?
That's a good question.
Because I often wonder that, because I know in a lot of ways God wants me to continuously pursue her, right? I know that, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why is it such an issue in marriages? Like, why is sex such an issue?
You got to.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out. I don't know. Yeah. Why do you think, Pastor Greg?
Sex is a profound part of our human existence. It's not shallow and superficial. It's very profound. It's very meaningful. I mean, at one level, it's kind of ridiculous what happens to us. It's sort of hilarious, really.
Yeah.
But it's very meaningful. Down beneath the obvious ridiculousness is profound meaning. You got to be a Christian to be crazy enough to believe this. Where did romance even come from? We didn't create that.
Yeah.
It came down from above.
Yeah.
There's something about the love of God that is romantic and passionate. And I think God created Jani as a woman, not a man, and created me as a man, not a woman, brought us together in this surprising, stretching, sometimes difficult, sometimes ridiculous relationship called marriage, so that we would experience and grow deeper in the super reality of romance. Because ultimate reality, we're not living in a universe where ultimate reality is physics.
Wow.
We're living in a universe where ultimate reality is romance.
Interesting. You done got deep.
Break that down. What do you mean by that? Because I like when you say break. Can you attempt to break that down? Like, what do you mean? The ultimate reality isn't physics, but it's romance. Are you saying romance is okay? Now I don't want to imply what you're saying. Okay, let me.
Well, we're taught in school about planetary motion and the forces of gravity and genetics and all that stuff. That's mechanics. And God created it all, and it's all amazing and it's impressive and it's wonderful, but it's not profound. What's profound is this fire that sometimes is just like glowing coals between us. Other times it just surges up and it blazes.
Mhm.
That's profound.
Mm.
That's when we're most human, and that's when whether we're in sexually involved or not, it's that spark between us, man and woman in covenant together. That's when we're actually putting the love of Christ for his people on display, and his people's our openness to, and our deference to, and our rejoicing in his love for us.
Yeah, that's good. That's
Yes,
good.
this is people who will never darken the door of a church and will never hear the gospel, at least have a chance of seeing the gospel imperfectly but visibly in us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Taz bets. She said, by the time I put my kids to bed, I'm out. What wisdom would you offer couples who have small children? Because it does get harder because you're sleepy.
And not only that, I want to just add to that question. What wisdom would you want to offer a wife who just doesn't want to do it as much, you know, for any reason, and her husband wants to, or vice versa?
So that's two questions.
Yeah.
Well, let me start with the first one. That woman is tired. I remember we had our first 3 in under 3 years, and a miscarriage in there as well. So I was pregnant 4 times in 2.5 years.
It was crazy.
And a woman, Preston, you asked that question earlier. You know, why are some women not as interested? A woman has more to give. It's harder for a woman to receive the physical pleasure that her husband does. She has to work a little harder to get there. It takes longer for her.
Yeah.
And she also, I mean, her body is such that if he comes to her, she can get pregnant again. And that's terrifying to a woman who's getting up every 2 hours during her 4th baby.
Come on here. Terrible. My uterus is tired. They just think of it.
It's really hard to feel attractive and sexy after you've birthed these babies. So I would ask all your men listeners to live with your wife in an understanding way. But let me speak to the women as well, if I may. 2 things. One thing that helped me was when I realized I was the only God-kissed, God-blessed, legitimate sexual response for this man that I promised God I would love until I died or he died. I'm the only legitimate sexual response for him. So I want to take that responsibility seriously. God chose me for that.
Wow.
But secondly, I had to learn, and I'd encourage a woman who's not that interested to learn some ways how she can be more interested. We recommend some books. We recommend some other things that can really help a woman so that she doesn't feel like, okay, I gave to the kids all day. Now I got to give to my husband. I hope he's quick. 10 minutes and I can go to sleep finally.
Even that's long. Jesus.
Yeah, the other thing I recommend that
We both had to learn.
It really helped us was we tried to get away. We couldn't more usually than once a year because we were so broke. But we tried to get away at least once a year for 2 nights in a row. Now, it didn't work really well when I was nursing, but we tried.
Yeah.
Just to refresh and remind ourselves, why did we get married?
Yeah.
You know, we didn't get married just so we both could kiss each other goodbye in the morning and go our separate ways and then fall into bed exhausted.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
That's really. No, I was just saying that's really good. That's really good. I was going to ask. I want to just add to that. I've learned that also my wife's love language is acts of service, And so one of the things that I've learned to do is to serve her, like take the load of the kids if I want to, spend time with her later on or whatever. And so the reason why I had this question, I think me and her, we worked through a lot of these, but I have guys all the time asking me, like, man, like how sometimes when your wife rejects you, it's not her rejecting sex, but it's her rejecting you. Like
you mean the other way around? She's not rejecting you. She's rejecting sex.
Yeah, but they feel like she's rejecting him. Like I don't love you.
Right.
And so Ray, how can you speak to those men? Because I think a lot of times when a man hears no, they don't just hear I'm tired. They hear
I don't want you.
I don't want you as a person. I don't, and so I went through that, especially like the first 3 years of our marriage. It was kind of like, man, it was hurtful, because I think a lot of times, sometimes maybe women don't understand, like, this is the way I express myself, my love to you. And so what would you say can be a good, what would you say to the man who feels that way when he's rejected by his wife?
Preston, the way you set the question up is very profound and wise and full of understanding. And it's actually comforting just to make that distinction, rejecting sex, rejecting me, because they're not the same. But, when either the wife or the husband, when we experience disappointment, we know it's not rejection, but it is disappointment.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a barrier to marriage. That's a breakthrough in marriage. That's when, honestly, the truth of it is, this is embarrassing. I didn't really leave high school mentally. I never left my senior year of high school till I was about 35 or 40.
Wow. I can believe that, because you're such a fun person to this day. I'm like, how do I have so much fun with this guy and he's older?
He's old.
Well, the thing is, when we're disappointed with each other, what's happening, we discover that disappointment. What's happening is we're actually growing up. We're actually experiencing real marriage. We're getting past our shallowness, past our superficiality. We're actually growing up. We're becoming grown-up adults who are experiencing real life as it is, and we're experiencing it together, and we're sharing it together. We're pooling our insights. We're even pooling our disappointments.
Wow. And so you're saying when your wife rejects you, you take that disappointment and you even use that disappointment to mature and to not just individually, but collectively.
Yeah, it's like I'm not 15 anymore. Well, it's about
I have never heard that response to that question.
Me neither. That was good. That was really good. It was convicting, because it was kind of like, okay, I'm going to take my disappointment.
He basically said, be a man.
Yeah.
Be a man. That's
The way I've dealt with my disappointments is, okay, let me take my disappointments to the Lord, spend my alone time with the Lord, and now I can come back and deal with you and love you, and then we have great moments. I love those moments, but
what's dope though is
the dry seasons. I'd be like, man, Lord.
I think what Ray is low-key giving a framework for is that even rejection is useful.
Yes, that's what I heard.
Yeah, like, man, like your wife rejects you or your husband rejects you. Take that and use it for your benefit, in the sense of grow from it. I think that's profound.
Yeah, and I think I have grown from.
Oh yeah.
I don't think that I've intentionally said I'm gonna grow from this. I think
it
forces you to grow. But I think that perspective, it's just a better perspective to take it on the chin right away, and to know that in that moment, God wants to use this moment to draw me closer to the one I love, and so that's really, really good.
What I don't know how to word this in a succinct way, but like, what is something you see happening in younger marriages, and by younger, I mean 15 years and under, that you say, if they fix that, they'll have a better marriage? Does that make sense? Just some things you've discerned where it's just like, if we just tweak this, then they may last a little longer.
It's a good question, babe.
That's a good
That's
question.
a really significant.
Wow.
What would you say?
Well, honestly, Jackie, with the women I'm talking with, exactly what we've been mentioning here. The women are not warm towards their husbands in a way that fulfills and frees their husband to love them well.
Wow.
So we talk about that a lot in my discipleship groups. So, I mean, I would encourage them to work on their physical relationship.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Yeah. What about you, Ray?
Well, I look at your age group and I see so much to admire. You guys are going to do way better advancing the gospel and building shalom and displaying human beauty than our generation did. I think our generation let your generation down. We made radical individualism and selfishness into almost a virtue.
Mm-hmm.
And the generation of the 60s was a turning point, and it was not a good turning point in our culture. So I have more confidence in you than I do in us. One thing I would tweak if I could, I'm just surprised at some of my young guy friends at how much attention they pay to their emotions and their feelings. And now we have to be wise here, because I'm not talking about suppressing legitimate emotions that are alerting us to issues that need to be addressed in our lives.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not talking about an emotionless stoicism. I am saying sometimes I'm just surprised at how sort of guys I know get sucked into their own internal emotional world and are paralyzed by negative emotions.
Wow.
And all of us need to say to our ridiculous hearts, hey, ridiculous heart, this feeling that you're sending to me, what? That's not Jesus talking to me. Go away. Leave me alone. Give me some peace for half an hour. I want to be productive. I want to do something nice. I want to be kind. And some of our emotions are downright temptations.
How do you discern that?
Yeah, that's the exact question for that.
Well, if my emotional state takes me away from Jesus, takes me away from my wife, and curves reality back in on myself, that's not good.
That's some good stuff. Because we've been walking with a couple of couples. That we've been not to say too much, but I think what you're basically saying is that a man can be so consumed with what he's maybe not getting in the marriage, he can be so consumed about his own feelings that it makes him go inside and prevents him from like loving his wife like he should, because he's so consumed with him.
That's deep.
And I know that's a real thing, and so I love that you gave that distinction, because we definitely don't want men not to be emotionless. Like, we want them to show emotion, but when your emotion makes you only like to look at your own feelings and what you're not getting, and it paralyzes you to the point where you can't love your wife, it's a problem. And so that's really, really good. Really, really good. I have a question. How does submission and headship look like when you guys is married?
And I want to qualify that by saying, even when people ask me, what does submission actually look like? It's often really difficult for me to communicate it, simply because me and Preston are such a team that it's often hard for me to actually flesh out where I'm submitting. It's not that I'm leading, but it's also that we work together. You get what I'm saying? And so I think I just wanted to add that to his question, because I think that's why I just want help to have clarity on how to say what it actually is.
And the reason I'm asking this question, because I was like, today I was thinking about my questions I was going to ask. I was like, I wonder why I haven't asked this question to you guys when I was at your house, because I look at you guys' relationship and I see how you guys interact with one another. And it is like a team, but it's so fluid. I'm just curious, like, what does what does submission and headship look like?
Yeah.
And what has it looked like in the last 49 years of you guys' marriage?
Well, let me tell you about Ray. It'd be easier for me to talk about how he's led us. He is a man who has never forced his headship on me, saying, come on, honey, you got to get with this. I'll give you an example.
Yeah.
When he wanted to get his doctorate, we had 3 little kids. He had already had 2 master's degrees. And he wanted to move overseas. And the first time he told me, I lost it. I wasn't submissive. I started crying. I can't do this. I cannot, And,
such an idiot.
But he wasn't. This was from the Lord. The Lord was telling him, I want you to get this doctorate. But he did not force the issue. He waited for 2 years. He just prayed for me. Every once in a while, we revisit it ever so lightly so that I wouldn't collapse. And, the Lord changed my heart over those 2 years. 2 years later, we sold everything and moved to Scotland, of all places. Why did it take me 2 years to have to want to move to Scotland? What I'm trying to say is he leads me in a way that makes it easy for me to follow. He's not beating me up emotionally or spiritually, saying, honey, I'm the head. We've got to do this. Now, come on, get with it. He presents an idea. If I balk at it, if I'm unsure, he says, well, let's think about it. Let's talk about it more. Tell me, I want to know what you're thinking.
Yeah, that's good.
I really am struck by the way you set the question up, both of you, because what you described when you talked about teamwork, that's a very healthy marriage. Ephesians 5 is the, wives submit to your husbands, husbands love your wives, classic passage, right? But it's, again, this is for first generation Christians who don't even have a framework. They are inventing Christian marriages from scratch.
My goodness.
And so I think in that passage, Paul is giving them the big picture framework. Here's how it works, generally speaking. Here's how you'll learn how to ride this bike. But once you got on the bike and you kind of get a knack for it, you don't think about how to keep your balance. You just ride the bike.
Yeah.
Good.
That's what you guys are doing. So there are moments along the way when headship sort of spikes as something you got to think about. But on a day-by-day basis, we're just flowing together as a team, and I'm listening to her. She's advising me. She's listening to me. I'm advising her. You just find a way.
Yeah.
An ongoing conversation. It's like riding a bike, and it's just comfortable and it works. So the Ephesians 5, I don't think it's meant to provide a weapon for a Christian husband, or like a trump card in his hand that he lays down on the table to overrule his wife when he feels like it. That's a misuse of Ephesians 5.
Yeah, that's really good.
Big picture. Now go figure it out.
Amen.
Yeah, that's really good. And so would you say that headship and submission looks like mainly acting as a team and respecting one another's wishes, visions, goals, whatever. But then when something like when a big decision happens, like how does headship and submission play in you guys' marriage then? You're saying you're saying it comes into play when big decisions happen, but when big decisions are not on the table, we just like every day working as a team. Is that what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah, there are times when you just sort of stumble into an awareness. Oh, we need to back up here and just pay careful attention to how we're doing this. This could go badly. This could go well. We realize the stakes are really high in this decision we're trying to make here. So let's slow down and think it through. So when I came up with my crazy idea, Jani, about moving overseas to do doctoral work, Jani did not put her foot down and say, there is no way we're doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I want to spend every Christmas with my parents in Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
That would have been unsubmissive. I didn't say to Jani, pack your bags, we're doing this. I don't care how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
That would be wrong too.
Yeah.
Instead, we realized, oh, we see this really differently. Let's slow down and make this a matter of prayer and ongoing conversation until we feel good about it.
Until we can move as a team.
Yeah.
That's good. That clarifies my question. Thank you. I thought my question was confusing, but you answered it perfectly.
And it's so helpful and different, even from, I think, the way people assume headship and submission is supposed to function.
Yes.
You know, because it sounds like, oh, if he's the head, then he's like my lord, my king. He gets to control.
What he says goes.
Just all the things. And the submission is like everything that you want to do. I'm obligated to do it. Instead of it simply being we're both serving one another in our particular roles.
Yeah, because when you look at because I think some people hear that word submission. And I think some people might hear dominance or I'm more dominant, but that's not what the word means at all.
You mean headship?
I'm sorry, headship. That's what I meant to say. When people hear like headship or he's the head, they hear dominance. And it's not a man being dominant over his wife at all. But when you look at how the Bible tells us to love our wives like Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that's a very hard and difficult task to do in your flesh, right? But it's also it can be just as vulnerable as submitting, right? To love somebody sacrificially. Like it's no way you can tell your wife we're packing up and going overseas if you're loving her like Christ loved the church.
There you go.
Because you're thinking about her feelings the way she feels first, and so. I think for people who feel like headship is this controlling, dominant thing, I think they just have a wrong view of it. And so that's something that I had to learn. John Piper's book, This Momentary Marriage, really helped me to which
I'm giving away free copies of.
Yes.
But we'll get to that later.
Yeah, that book really helped me. Like my first year, I was more of a Pharisee than like to Jesus to Jackie. I controlled every conversation. I was afraid of my marriage failing.
Yeah, you were.
Every conversation was a deep talk about her sin. And God had to convict me, and God had to show me, like, you literally become like a Pharisee to your wife. You don't trust me. You don't know how to lead, and you're trying to lead on your own strength. And so you're trying to exert this false sense of dominance because you just don't know how to trust the Holy Spirit. And so, I had to learn that. I had to learn the hard way. But let's go into a Q&A because I saw a good question from, I think her name was Brianna. She had a really, really great question.
About?
It was about something that Jani said about learning what your husband likes sexually. Can you just scroll up? Or we can just call her on. Yeah. It was a really good question. I saw it and I forgot what it was.
So I guess, Jani, if you could just speak more to what does that look like to help your husband learn you when you're learning you?
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And I think the question said, how do you help your husband learn you without exploring like sin, sexual things?
Yeah.
How do you do it?
Because I do think people think they
Christian
have to go
way?
to porn to find out how to have sex. Right?
Yeah, that's what the question said.
There's no need to go to porn at all.
Yeah.
to answer your question, I had to learn myself through a book. I would recommend Intended for Pleasure by Ed and Gay Wheat.
Intended pleasure.
I have that.
Two Christians.
He's a doctor.
Married, and it's a wonderful book. It really helped me understand who I am as a woman. And Ray was very eager to learn me in fun and new and different ways. He wanted.
I needed Jani to coach me.
So it's not always really appealing for me to coach, but I had to get over that. I had to learn that I had to learn myself what works, and I had to help him learn.
Yeah.
Well, we just, somewhere along the way, I finally realized what we're shooting for here is a win-win. And that's going to require more thoughtfulness and more care and better lovemaking from me. So Jani and I entered into an ongoing conversation together. What do you like? What works for you? And that was a back and forth conversation that it can only trend well, right?
Yeah.
One step at a time, we went from good sex to like, wow, this is amazing. And then we started, actually it was kind of fun to set some records and then see if we could break those records.
Whoa.
What kind of records we talking about?
What
Ray?
kind of records?
Well, I'm not going to say anything.
No, that's all right. Yeah,
We'll leave it there.
I mean, I think we all grown here. I mean, if y'all want to take it there, we can take it there. You know what I'm saying? But that's good. And it takes humility too, to not come into marriage and be like, oh,
That's true.
I got it all figured out. That's great. That's really good.
But I would really say again, you don't need to go outside your marriage to figure out how to have fabulous sex.
Yeah.
Because I often thought about Adam and Eve. They didn't know what they was doing. They couldn't even ask anybody other than God. What do we do
I
here?
never thought of that. That's a great point.
They sure figured it out and had a baby.
But you can have fun figuring it out.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's right.
It's like an explorer. It's like, oh, this doesn't work. Oh, you don't like this. Oh, you like that. Okay, I like that too.
Okay. So if you noticed, I just put up the question. I said, if you want to come on screen and ask Ray and Jani a question, send me a message via Patreon. I will send you a link that will bring you into the studio for us to ask questions face to face. The first 3 people who join us live will get a free copy of the book that Preston mentioned, This Momentary Marriage by John Piper. This book was actually a part of our marriage counseling. And I think it helped us to just have a really good biblical framework for marriage, but also I think it established like the commitment needed. You are committing yourself to this person, vowing to love them for better or worse. And this commitment is also a commitment to God. And I think it's that, I think it's that type of concrete promise that we made to one another that has kept me.
In chapter 3, he talks about covenant keeping. And one of the things he said is staying in love is not the same thing as staying in marriage. And he talks about how covenant is a binding agreement. It's a bond, similar to what you said. And that transformed my thinking, because I thought like, I want to stay in love at all times, 24 hours. It's like, no, this is a covenant, and so it just transformed the way I thought. And so I named my proposal poem Covenant after this book. It was, whatever.
It's important because I mean, the world, I think, communicates like that you have to feel in love to love. And I just don't think that's reality, man. Like
love is an action. We had to learn that. I know I had to learn that. Like I have to every day I have to get up and actively choose to love my wife.
Amen.
And to say, you know what, I'm gonna love her, even though I'm tired, even though the baby was crying all night, even though she got an attitude. Well, she be having an attitude sometimes.
Don't act like you don't be around here sulking.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, I'm tired of being in this house. I want to go play basketball and shoot guns. Although I'm no good from AR-15. I wish we had Elk around the corner in Atlanta.
I feel it sometimes too. I'm not putting it all on her, but we have to actively choose to love one another. So this
All right.
book.
All right, see you on. Are you ready? All right. Let's fix this screen here. How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. Hi, everyone.
Hey, how you doing?
Did I say your name correctly?
Yeah, that's right. CUN.
Where do you live?
I'm from Malaysia, actually.
Okay. Are you still in Malaysia?
Yeah.
Oh,
wow.
I'm in Malaysia right now. Yeah.
What time is it?
It's in the morning, 10 a.m.
Oh,
Wow.
You make us for breakfast.
Thank you for coming on with us. We're glad to have you.
You got a message or a question for Ray and Jani?
Yeah. First of all, I just want to thank you so much for what you have shared. It's really insightful and very refreshing to hear from a matured couple. My question is, because I work with kids a lot, and when they ask questions about sex and all that, I find it really difficult to present sex to them as something good, something created by God. And because of our media and everything, it feels like sex is something that's bad. You know, when we talk about sex, oh, don't look at that, don't do this, don't do that. So what's your advice for me to share to people, that the kids or friends, that sex is actually good and it's God's design? Yeah.
Well, I think the reason that there is such pressure from the world on us in this area of our sexuality is that I'm a big believer in the devil. And he creates these temptations. He creates this social environment that hypersexualizes almost everything. And it's easy to be so guarded and rightly on our guard that we can actually go too far and perceive sexuality as some sort of problem that we have to cope with. That's when the devil can win that way just as much as he can win by giving into temptation. So the path of Christ is not giving into temptation, nor is the path of Christ perceiving sex as basically problematic. The path of Christ is following Scripture, which says that our sexuality is part of our God-created glory. The Bible says in 1 Corinthians chapter 6 that the Lord is for the body and the body is for the Lord. So the Lord has a pro-body policy. He's not embarrassed about our bodies, our manhood, womanhood. He is not wishing he had never given us bodies. Our bodies are part of God's glorious creation. Our sexuality is part of God's glorious creation. Married or single, we can give our sexuality to God and live it out with joy and with dignity. But there is no other way we can live out our sexuality, and we will only experience regret on any other path. So I would say teach passages like Genesis 1, Genesis 2, Proverbs chapter 5, 1 Corinthians chapter 6. That's a very significant passage. Ephesians chapter 5, and ultimately Revelation 21 and 22, where the story goes. And we can teach, we can impart to young people a godly, dignifying appreciation of the glories of human sexuality as God gave it. Let's not give up ground that is rightly our own. Jesus Christ owns all human sexuality. Let's not give it away.
Good, sir.
My God.
Whoa.
You deserve a Ishedebeko shine. My goodness.
Thank you so much for coming on the conversation, and God bless you there in Malaysia. We're so thankful you're there.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
too.
So I tell Jackie all the time, Pastor Ray, when I leave your house, I feel dumb because you have so much wisdom.
Even I got a comment on
It's
what
like,
you
wow,
said.
that's so amazing.
You know when people say something and it hit your heart.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you said how you believe in the devil and how the devil on one end he wants us to explore our sexuality in a way that's obviously not God honoring, but he also wants to like make us look down on sexuality and treat it bad. And I think that ministered to me just because I think as someone who was abused sexually, that's actually the temptation is to not see the beauty and the goodness of sex, period.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that was
and how like the devil has more than one way of winning something.
Yeah.
We don't look at it that way.
That what you said with that was so profound to me, because sometimes we can be so fixated on how we feel like the devil can win, but it's like, no, like he has multiple schemes.
Yeah.
We're not going to let him take anything from us.
Yeah, that was really good,
Man.
brother.
All right, Savannah, are you ready? All right. Hey, Savannah girl.
Guys, I'm so excited.
I like that. Oh, you got that mirror in the back. I got that same mirror from Marshall's.
I just got it last week.
Really?
This
You
is
feel
don't do this to me because I don't know. I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to talk to you. Okay.
Hi, Savannah. Where do you live?
Virginia Beach, Virginia.
Nice.
Virginia.
Okay. Got any questions for Ray and Jani?
I do. So my question kind of starts in the beginning of the talk. Well, I kind of jumped in a little bit late, but the part about Jani mentioning how she knew Ray, I guess was kind of, I don't want to say the one, because I know people can get caught up on like the one, but just kind of, how did you know that the Spirit was leading you to Ray? And you kind of mentioned about how you prayed the prayer of, just about, wanting him to speak to you and approach you. So just like, how did you know that the Spirit was kind of leading you to him, and that it just wasn't some like just infatuation for him and his looks and how dreamy he was? How did you know?
I didn't know. I was such a fool. I was just a kid. I was 18 when I met him. I wish I'd been more spiritual. Maybe I put myself across as more spiritual. But really, I just liked him. And I said, Lord, I really like him. He looks good to me. Would you let me go out with him? If it's okay with you, Lord, if it's all the same with you, have him call me. That's where it was. It wasn't any big spiritual thing, I'm sorry to say. I think your question goes deeper, like how do you know when it's the right person? If you have a question, maybe this isn't the right person.
Well, but I think it's a great question, and I think we did experience something that really was very profound. I began to sense, here's a woman that I kind of got the impression she sincerely loves the Lord. He is the center of her life. And I'm actually she's not just going to fall in love with me for my sake. She loves the Lord enough that she's going to bring this romance under the rule of Christ. Now, when I sensed that sincerity of heart in her toward the Lord, and you sensed.
Yeah, I do have to say, I mean, Ray loved the Lord. That was very attractive to me. I wanted a man who loves the Lord with all his heart.
That was part of the attraction in each other.
Yes.
We sensed alignment and shared purpose the Lord had called me into pastoral ministry. The Lord had called her to give her life completely to the Lord. She thought she was going to become a missionary. So I knew he was first with her. And she knew he was first with me. And then this romantic magic started happening. So God created the conditions where marriage and life purpose came together as inevitable. So I guess what I'm trying to say, falling crazy in love and feeling the leading of the Spirit of God were sort of intertwined together.
It wasn't just one or the other. It really was both.
That sounds crazy, but I think that's what happened.
No, and it's funny because sometimes it can kind of feel crazy, like, because you're just like, when you're dealing with the Holy Spirit, sometimes it just feels like, how do I really know it's him? And you feel like you don't really want to test the Spirit, but then you kind of just, I think that's like the beauty of being so honest in prayer and being honest with God, and just whatever you feel, it's like, I don't want to just get loose advice from anyone. I want to get advice from God, especially when it comes to looking for someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with. So I think I did have a counter question if you have time, Jackie. I'm sorry. I had one. Okay. I said, and my second part of my question was, in what ways did the Lord prepare you in the waiting stage of kind of seeing this person, but not really, all the way dating, or in kind of in that in-between stage of, I see them, I like them, but not necessarily girlfriend and boyfriend, because I think that's kind of like a gap that people don't talk about. Because, you can have googly eyes, but you kind of haven't been their girlfriend yet, so just kind of how do you pace yourself to get there? And is there ways that the Spirit prepared you to become that girlfriend and wife eventually?
That's a profound question.
That is such a good question, isn't it, darling? Wow. Well, you just took a breath. Go for it.
Well, I was just going to say, what you're describing is a very difficult experience. It's hard to endure. There's a lot of anguish. And God is in that, even in that hardship, shaping our hearts and preparing us.
I think one of the ways, as Ray is mentioning, that is perfect for us to grow in that in-between time is with patience in our walk with the Lord. Lord, I'm frustrated. I want to see some movement here. I want him to call me, or I want him to sit by me in the dining hall or something. And when the Lord doesn't answer that, what do I do with that? How do I respond to that? That's a growth curve. And so that was really important for me.
We hate waiting.
I mean, even after you're dating, if you both love the Lord, you're waiting to have sex together. So, the engagement time can be a hard time as well, to stay pure before the Lord and with each other. So, go ahead.
Waiting is Amazon Prime is counting on us that we will hate to wait. So, but in the way God arranges life, there's a lot of waiting built in.
Yeah, waiting is what faith does until God answers.
Yeah.
Waiting is really a faith builder.
And good things happen in waiting. I just hate it. I hate it. But, and you know what? We got married, then we had to wait for other stuff.
But I thank you guys. This was good. Y'all answered my question.
Savannah, it is so nice to meet you.
Yeah, thank you.
That was a word. Thank you, Savannah girl, and your mirror.
That was so good, guys.
She said, let me read it. Let me restore it back to the thing. Waiting. Come on, you're not being my choir. Is what faith does.
Oh, what did it do?
until God answers. My God.
I'm not churchy.
I know you're not. I tried to
It was
help
so
you out.
fake. What it do? That was so dumb. Why did I say that? Why did I say that?
But it was. I think it's good to connect waiting with faith, because I think waiting is this. I don't have it yet. It's something I'm hoping for,
Yeah.
but I need to.
And I also love the first half of the question about how do you know if somebody is your husband or your wife. A lot of times the Lord is like, come now, this person is for you. But because marriage is for the glory of God, if you can see this person helping you fulfill the purpose that God has for your life, it's probably a good indication that, man, maybe I should consider this woman or this wife. Because when I saw Jackie, this woman.
You did not see me as your wife when you first met me.
Not when I first met you, but when I realized that you were my wife.
Yes.
Everything clicked, and I was like, what I feel like the Lord has me to do, I know that she will be a great helper, a great encouragement.
And all the married couples I know, they just knew.
Yeah.
And I think people hate that answer. It's like, I need some more than that. It's like, nah, it's just, you just know.
You just know.
So, Che and Dom, I might be mispronouncing your name. I am so grateful that we have a couple finna come up on here. Are y'all ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Right. Hey, y'all.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Can y'all hear us?
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. Well, thank you guys for obviously being available to speak on marriage. We are not a married couple yet, but we are friends. And this is where the conversation comes in, because we've been friends for since 2018. We've been talking here and there. I know, it's okay. That's prophecy, man. We received that. We received all that.
21 at night. That's probably why we thought.
Well, it's not
No. There's accountability here. We're in New York. We're on the East Coast. We're in New York. Okay. Yeah, but there's people here, so yeah. Just our question was, how do you? Because Savannah, I know the girl before, she asked, how do you know somebody's the right one? How do you know when it's the right time? Because I feel like, singleness is very important. And I know there's things that probably need to happen, or maybe they don't. Because a lot of times people refer to like Adam in the garden, and, he was in the presence of God, and God gave him a job, and he had a task and all these things, right? And so my question is, like, how do you know when's like the right time to dive into?
Well, the right time for me was when my man asked me. That was when it was for me. I mean, Ray was the one who decided in our marriage when it was the right time. He wanted me to be graduated from college and willing to go with him into ministry. What do you think about? How does a man decide?
That is such a great question. We had financial hurdles we had to jump through before we could be viable to live together as a new family. But I would say generally, if you're convinced and satisfied in your heart and conscience, you're for each other, and the Lord is in this, and He's smiling on you, and you're like falling crazy in love, and you want to get married, okay? When you get to that point, and then it's only a question of timing, I'd say get married as quickly as possible. Don't wait until everything is perfect. Don't wait until you pay off the loans. Don't wait until you can fill in every blank.
Because you'll never get married.
Yeah. So
that's true.
There are common sense things. You got to have a budget that's credible. You got to know that you're going to survive. But beyond the obvious basics, don't wait. When God has touched you both, and oh my goodness, God has led me to the one I want to marry, and she feels the same way, he feels the same way, then work it out as quickly as possible, and don't wait any longer.
Thank you. I think that's well said.
That's
yeah, because
good.
sometimes people can use like feelings, and you spoke about like purity and sex, and then people want to have that instantly, and we don't want that to be the reason why we just jump into something. But we just want to make sure that we're both ready and that we both took care of whatever it is that was needed to be taken care of in our singleness, whatever trauma it was or baggages that were just there from when we were kids, and so.
God bless you guys, and just
Thank you.
many gentle conversations together,
Mhm.
talking through what your reservations might be, what your fears might be.
Mhm.
Talk it all through, pray it through. God will lead you.
Amen.
Well,
Man,
thank y'all.
thank you guys.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh, Ray and Janie.
man. So that will conclude our Q&A portion of the teach the text. But that was
good.
That was so great.
That was great.
I'm so glad that we had you guys on, because I felt like those are questions that, like, yeah, we only y'all.
We needed some sage. We needed some wisdom that's been put to use.
Yes, I feel like I feel like y'all wisdom has been in on a slow cook for like in
an
a
incubator
pot for so long, and so yeah, you guys are just such a blessing and a gift to the body.
we need to visit y'all soon.
Yes,
we keep having kids, so
Love to have you back anytime.
and I just feel tonight is great, even though I'm tired and I feel like my mind is gonna explode. I feel honored that I'm able to share you guys with my Patreon family, because I personally received so much wisdom, and
let me let them know how much I care about this. So y'all remember I had Sage in October, right? Preston, he comes in the house. He said, "Hey, Ray said hunting season is about to start. Can I go?" The baby is maybe 30 seconds old, and I said, "Yeah, you sure can. Go."
So for those who don't know, me and Jackie, we have to really work out like when we leave out of town, because we're a team and we're both stay-at-home parents, and so we teamwork with the kids. Mm-hmm. But anytime I say, "Can I go and hunt with Ray?" she goes, "Go, you come back a better man." When you
comes back, and I think I told you that, didn't I? I said he comes back a better man. Why would I ever say no to that?
So I just come and I just soak up all the wisdom that I can get. Yeah, and so I appreciate you guys being there for me and Jackie, but I also I'm super happy today that I'm able to share you guys with my Patreon family, because now other people are,
Amen.
And so, and Ray, and I'll just say this: he doesn't like people bragging on him. He's like a giant in the faith.
Yeah, he is.
And so he doesn't talk about his accomplishments. I mean, when I talk, like, this guy, he literally wrote like some of the ESV version Bible, like translated it. Like, to me, when I found that, I was like, bro.
He's like, I wrote it and I'm gonna die. Still gonna die, Preston.
I was like, bro, I know you for all these years and been hanging with you, and you didn't tell me that you translated some of the ESV version Bibles. It's like, man, yeah. So I just look up to you in so many multiple ways. He's like, don't talk about this stuff, but it's like, man, like you're a giant in the faith, and you guys are such an inspiring couple. Seriously,
we love you. We respect you. We admire you. We are amazed by you and who you are and what you're accomplishing for Jesus. Yeah. Oh my goodness. And we're excited about your future. When we're in glory and, many years after we've left this world, we're going to be cheering you on as you continue to serve the Lord. You're just radiant, and you're brilliant too. And you're hilarious.
All right, Pastor Ray and Janie, y'all gonna get some sleep.
Oh,
and some
love you guys.
Good night.
hot souls together. Oops, I cut her off. My bad. All right,
guys.
You enjoyed that?
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm really sleepy.
It was edifying.
It was very edifying.
And I want y'all to know that part of the intentionality behind that is that I think we both are products of being near healthy marriages.
Yeah.
From us dating, we were around healthy marriages. engaged, healthy marriages. Now married, healthy marriages. And by healthy marriages, I also don't mean just our peer groups, like learning from and listening to and being poured into by people, by men and women that have been married for some time.
Yeah.
And I really think that that is what's missing in a lot of marriages, is that they're on an island trying to figure out stuff,
because
God has given us married couples in the church that could just help us a whole lot.
Because people always ask me, Preston, why do you talk about discipleship so much? It is vital in the Christian community. People say, oh, you and Jackie have such good marriage. Our marriage is not always good. But the healthy moments that you do see is because we've had great wisdom, great accountability, and great people to look at and peer on in their relationships. And so, I mean, and so I just think that
she feel fuzzy inside.
I just think that you guys, you guys have had a little, hint of what I get when I'm around the Ortlands, and so
that closes out our relationship teach the text. I hope it was helpful. We have yet, I think what we landed on for next month is the essentials of the gospel.
Yes.
And so, we're just going to walk through what is the gospel. What are the important things that we need to know? Atonement, propitiation, just all of the things.
And I'm going to be preaching from John 9. I love that passage.
And so, but in the meantime, Just Worship is happening next Saturday. If you're new to Patreon, know that y'all get a discount. And so I'll just post all the things. I'll put a link up to this book so that y'all can check it out.
It looks really good.
And all I liked how it blurred us out.
They changed the cover. It used to be like green.
Yeah, they made it contemporary. Thanks, Crossway. All right, guys, we're tired. I hope y'all have a great day.
Peace up. Shot Town Sideways. Y'all know what it is.
Wow.